Hi, my name is Alicia and you're watching the Reptile Rendezvous. So we all know dinosaurs were reptiles, at least that's what's commonly believed in most scientific research. And even though these animals went extinct millions of years ago, there's actually some modern reptiles that still hold similar traits to dinosaurs, and I think that look a little bit similar. Also, sorry in advance for any background noise. My cat is in my room, so he is purring and scratching at things, so it might be a little annoying. Now, these reptiles in this video may not have directly evolved from these dinosaurs that I'm comparing them to, but they do share similar features and adaptations that I find super interesting and cool to compare. So let's get on to the video. So the first species on this list is actually Rhinoiguanas, which is a species of iguana native to some islands in the Caribbean. Now, unfortunately, they are classified as an endangered species, but I do really like to highlight those kinds of species on these lists to make sure that they are seen a little bit more and bring attention to the fact that they are endangered. Now, this is a very big lizard. They get from 24 to 54 inches in length. It is more of a wild lizard that you could observe if you went to the Caribbean islands. Now, personally, they remind me of Pachisphilosaurus, which is a species of dinosaur that lived during the late Cretaceous era and was native to North America, specifically Western North America. It is suspected that their skulls were used for headbutting things and protecting themselves, and I think the head on a Pachisphilosaurus and the head of the Rhinoiguana actually share some similarities. Not only are their actual forehead shapes similar, but they also have the same type of horns on their noses, which I think is super interesting. Rhinoiguanas just have a prehistoric look to them with their rough scalation and their dark color. I just think that they just really look like living dinosaurs. The next species on this list is actually one I had never heard of before doing research for this video, and that is the Modigliani's Nosehorn Lizard. They were actually thought to be extinct in 1981 when a single specimen was found that had already passed, and people really thought that this species just didn't exist anymore, and we only really had a couple specimens to even prove that they existed in the first place. That is until 2018 when a group of living individuals were found in Sumatra, Indonesia. This actually allowed scientists to be able to study them more and learn more about the species, but due to their small range, there's actually a chance of them going extinct again because there is a lot of deforestation in that area. Now, the reason they are called Nosehorn lizards, if you haven't already seen videos of them in this video, is because they have this extra appendage on their nose that is almost the exact length of their heads. Now, because of this appendage, it actually reminds me of Ceratosaurus. This carnivorous species of dinosaur was actually from the late Jurassic period and was found in Colorado. They also have a horn on their nose, albeit a little less striking than the Nosehorn lizard. They are still pretty similar with the placement. I think we can also compare the Nosehorn lizard to species like Triceratops or other species similar to that. But just the fact that these animals were thought to be extinct and then rediscovered, and also just their super cool nose horns, I think that these animals just give me a very prehistoric vibe. The next animal on this list is actually not a lizard, but a snake, and that is the dragon snake. Now, this is a species of non-venomous snake from Malaysia and Thailand, and they are a relatively pretty small snake, only reaching up to 20 inches in length. Now, these snakes don't specifically remind me of any species of dinosaur, but more so raptors in general. The head of the snake has a very raptor-like feel, reminding me of Echiroraptors and Viriraptors. I'll put pictures and the actual names on the screen so that I'm probably pronouncing them wrong, but you can read them out. And these scales of the dragon snake just remind me of the typical scalation you see on dinosaurs when you're watching movies or shows. They just have those dinosaur-like scales. And I know this is a video about dinosaurs, but the snake also does remind me of dragons, hence why it's called dragon snakes. They do have a very dragon-like look to them, which overall just gives them that prehistoric look. Now, we're gonna break the vibe of this video a little bit because the next two animals on this list are actually not dinosaurs, but they did live during the dinosaur era. At least the animals I'm comparing the modern reptiles to. So the next animal on this list is actually Leatherback Sea Turtles. Now, their range can go all the way from Alaska to Africa. These guys are swimming all around the ocean. And they also get huge. They get from 3 to 6 feet in length, which is honestly massive. Outside of crocodilian species, these turtles actually weigh the most out of every reptile species in the world. And what makes them even more unique is they actually have a leather-like skin on their backs rather than the typical carapace you see with turtles, which gives them a completely different look and actually ties them into the prehistoric animal that they remind me of, which is a sea turtle that is called Archelon that lived in the late Cretaceous period. And if you thought leatherback sea turtles were big, these guys were even bigger. But what's really interesting to me is they both had the same leather back rather than the typical carapace of a turtle, which kind of makes the leatherback sea turtle a modern adaptation of the Archelon. And the final animal on this list is actually one of my favorite reptiles, and that is the gharial. They are found in the northern parts of the Indian subcontinent, and they're actually one of the largest crocodilian species in the world, with males reaching 8 to 14 feet and females reaching 9 to 19 feet. Unfortunately though, due to a loss of habitat, they are considered critically endangered, and there's a lot of different programs in place to try and make sure that these animals don't disappear. But what I find super cool about them is they are one of the closest related species to the extinct Sarcosuchus species, which is a massive crocodilian species that lived in the early Cretaceous period. And when I say massive, I mean it. They grew from 29 to 31 feet and weighed 3 to 4 metric tons. And similarly to the gharial, they actually had very thin snouts to help with hunting. Now these guys are actually just closely related. That's why I said that the gharial reminds me of a prehistoric species, but I do also think gharials just look very prehistoric. Most crocodilians and alligators I find do, because they kind of look similar to the prehistoric ones that were alive millions of years ago. But that is my list of 5 animals that I think just look really prehistoric and remind me of certain species of dinosaurs. If you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you know every time I post a new video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.